Have you been dying to move to the Tampa St. Pete area and are still perplexed as to where you should live? I understand. I get this question asked to me all the time. And so I really wanted to break it down for you today. We're going to look at a map. I'm going to break down the neighborhoods. And you know what? Let's just get after it right now. Hey, future Floridians. I'm Emily. I'm a licensed real estate agent here in the state of Florida, and I live in the Tampa St. Pete area, and this channel is dedicated to all things living, working, playing, sleeping, eating, and especially the real estate market in Central Florida. So if that resonates with you, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. That really helps me out a lot. And if you like this content, give me a thumbs up. That will really help me out as well. And if you have any real estate related questions, or if you're looking to relocate or move to the Tampa St. Pete area, I'd really love to help you out. I've been helping out a lot of people over YouTube for this past year, and it's been really great. So I'd love to help you as well, but I can't if you don't reach out to me. All of my links are below. You can email me, you can text me, you can call me. Most importantly, you can jump on my calendar for that 30-minute consultation, and we can start making a plan for your relocation goals. So today I really wanted to kind of break it down a little bit. You know, we're coming up on the end of the year and people are going to start really focusing on relocating and what's it like in some of these neighborhoods. So I'm going to break it down a little bit for you now. There's a couple of questions I always ask clients, especially in our first initial conversation when you're thinking of relocating. I always say, what do you like to do in your spare time? What do you, your family, your significant other, what do you like to do in your spare time when you're not working? A, so we got to figure that out. B, is neighborhood important to you? Meaning curb appeal, lush greenery, community aspects. And C, do we care about commuting? Do we need to commute for work? Are you worried about commuting back and forth because you really love the beach? You have to think about that. You can be in central Tampa and you can get to most places in 20 or 30 minutes. But if you're on the east side of town or the west side of town, that makes it a little bit harder. D, do you need to think about school districts? Do you have children? Are they currently in school? Are they going to be starting school? Do you care about public schools, private schools, charter schools? These are important questions. And E, even though that doesn't sound right, but E is for Emily and everything. Let's just say that. Basically everything else, shopping, groceries, the CVS, all those things. Do you need them to be like within less than 5 minutes of your house? So these are very good things to kind of sit down with your significant other and write down if it's just you and figure out what is most important. And so what I'd like to do now is kind of break it down by a few categories. My first category is going to be families, okay? So for families, there's a couple of neighborhoods. Listen, there are a ton of neighborhoods, let's just be honest, but I'm going to narrow it down to a couple, all right? First off, I grew up in Carrollwood, so it's high on my list. Carrollwood, Northdale area. And Carrollwood is nestled right here, just to the west of 275, north of downtown Tampa, and just east of the beaches. So greater Carrollwood, it's a really amazing community with activities and community pools and country clubs and that sort of thing. Carrollwood, Northdale, which is again just north of Carrollwood, as well as West Chase, which is over here. So West Chase is just southwest of Carrollwood. And then there's East Lake, which a lot of people don't talk about, but I really like East Lake. It's just north of Oldsmar, and it is just east of Lake Tarpon, and it's also just east of Palm Harbor. Woo, my directions. And the reason why I like East Lake is for a couple of reasons. It's very clean. There's some gated communities over there. It's close to golf courses. It's close to the beach. So it kind of ticks all of the marks, when you're looking at all of those criteria that we mentioned earlier. And if we head a little bit more northeast, there's a wonderful area called Wesley Chapel, and it's really big, wide space. But it's really inland and it's lots of nature preserves, but you are at least 45 minutes to an hour from the beach. So keep that in mind. So again, for my families, I'm going to talk about beaches in a minute, but for my families, Wesley Chapel has got everything. It's got amazing shopping. It's got great school districts. Really, it feels like another Tampa because it's so big and it has so many things to offer. And next to Wesley Chapel, of course, is Land O'Lakes, which I also love, and Lutz, which is right down in here. So this corridor right here really has a lot to offer families if you're not looking to be close to the water. Keep that in mind. South Tampa. Let's talk about South Tampa. South Tampa is this little butte south of the airport, and it is nestled between the Hillsborough Bay and Old Tampa Bay. And it is just very, very popular for a lot of reasons. It always has been. Even when I was in high school, we would go to Hyde Park and have lunch. There's the sidewalk on Bay Shore that runs up and down for, I can't remember how many miles, but it is beautiful views of the bay while you're rollerblading, biking, jogging. We just did the Thanksgiving turkey trot, and it was all up and down Bay Shore Boulevard overlooking the water. So it does have some amazing features. There are also several parks. It is family friendly to the nth degree. But, and I'll talk about this in a minute, it's also really great for young professionals. So if you want that, if you're a young mom and dad and you're just kind of getting yourself acclimated not only to Tampa, but to suburban life, but you still want to be around some of the hubbub, I would say South Tampa should be high on your list. And then if we head a little east, we're going to cross the Selman and go over into Brandon and then Riverview. And Brandon's right here. Brandon's right here. We've got Riverview here. And really everything in between is still really good. I actually like Bloomingdale a lot. And if you don't mind being really east of town, Fishhawk, like southeast really, Fishhawk is another just beautiful area. And a lot of these areas, especially in Brandon and Riverview, have those planned communities. Now, if you want a newer home, definitely Brandon, Riverview, and the surrounding areas are gonna have those planned communities. You're gonna have CDDs, you're gonna have HOAs, but you're gonna have that community feel, very wonderful curb appeal, community pools, parks, all of that. I think it's a good option for families. And then of course, you're gonna see that I have St. Pete on several of these listed categories for a couple of reasons. St. Pete, in my opinion, offers many things for many types of groups. Young families, young professionals, retirees, age people. You really have everything you need in St. Pete. I got a little feedback from one of my subscribers that St. Pete felt a little busy for them, and that's a really good thing to share with all of you. St. Pete is densely populated, and it's extremely diverse, and there are pockets that are still being renovated, but you've got the historical feel as well in St. Pete with all of that culture and diversity and arts and music and community events. So it has a lot to offer, and there's a lot of walking ability and a lot of biking and parks, but you're in a densely populated city. It's definitely more of an urban city feel. So think about that. If you've got little kids, especially the houses over there aren't terribly big unless you find a brand new construction home there, and those can cost you a pretty penny. So what do these areas offer in general? So what do these areas and neighborhoods have in common? Basically, their walkability, strollerability, dogs, friendly, biking. You can take your dogs and your children to a lot of breweries and bars over there. In a lot of these areas, there's a lot of community events and festivals, easy access to shopping and the interstate, as well as lots of family activities, especially right now during the holidays. We've got the St. Pete Pier that's always got a bunch of activities going on. I know specifically in Riverview and Brandon, as well as Wesley Chapel, there's always tons and tons of community events that I see on Facebook alone. And of course, when you go into Carrollwood, Northdale, and even heading over to Eastlake, you've got in the little bits of their little community, they've got all those community events going on as well. So community feel, a lot of times they don't have HOAs. That's also a big bonus. And walking and shopping, it's all that access that you need is really right there in those little suburbs. So let's move on. So next category is for my young professionals. As we look back at my map, you'll see I'm at the top of the boot of South Tampa, over near Davis Island right here. So there's an area called Hyde Park that we really love a lot, that I tell a lot of people about. And there's also a Soho, which is South Howard Avenue, which has a lot of wonderful places to eat and little shops. It's really cool and very hip and trendy and a little bit on the pricier side. So for my young professionals, I definitely think that Soho and Hyde Park should be high on your list. Then let's just scoot over to downtown Tampa, because downtown Tampa back in the day was nowhere we wanted to be as kids. But nowadays, there's so much activity. There's food trucks on Tuesdays, I think, downtown. I used to work downtown, and that was a thing. And there's wonderful, one of my favorite pizza joints is down there, and just fun stuff. Not to mention in downtown, you're right there near the river. You're right near the Riverwalk, which, as I've mentioned on other videos, if I can scroll this out so I can show you, this is Hillsborough River, and it winds all the way down, and it meets down here near all of the fun stuff, Armature Works, Rick's on the River, the Strass Center, and of course, Curtis Hickson Park, which is where we have tons of festivals and holiday events and movies on the lawn and yoga on the lawn, that sort of thing. Really fun. So if you want to live in a high rise and you want to, or maybe even an old kind of eclectic home in the area, downtown Tampa could be really fun for you. And it's a lot of walking, a lot of shuttle services down there. So if you don't really want to use your car that often, that has that ability. Let's move over to the Channel District, which we call Channel Side. And that is a new development that is really starting to kind of make its way onto the real estate scene, because now they've finished a lot of these high-rise condos that have the shops underneath. And there's an area called Sparkman Wharf. And I've talked about that place before because it's so fun. Again, they have these they look like containers, but they're like little vignettes of restaurants. And then they have this grassy knoll, and it overlooks the water. And again, they do movies and yoga and all sorts of concerts out there. So it's a fun area as well. If you want to do that live work kind of thing, check out Channel District. And let's head back over to the north part of downtown Tampa into Tampa Heights and Seminole Heights. This is an area that I really love, and I just did a video on Seminole Heights and Tampa Heights that I'll put right here if you're interested. Kind of break it down a little bit. Again, it's a very historical area. You still have those brick lane streets. You've got the craftsman style bungalow homes. Not so big on square footage over there, but again, hip, trendy, wonderful food up and down North Florida Avenue, and breweries, great breweries over there. And again, we're gonna go back to St. Pete. I'm gonna specify for my young professionals, the downtown St. Pete area is really great. So let me just scroll over here so I can break that down for you. So right here, you'll see the St. Pete Pier and 2nd Street, 2nd Avenue. Basically, you can take it all the way down to the pier. But if you keep going east, you're gonna hit the Sundial. There's a park there. And there's a lot of downtown nightlife, great restaurants, music playing, museums. It has a lot to offer the young professional, especially if you are, again, wanting that live workspace where there's condos upstairs and the shops below, and you can get on your bike and go to your favorite coffee shop. Downtown St. Pete should be on your list. So what do all these little neighborhoods have to offer the young professional? Like I mentioned, if you're a foodie, these neighborhoods are going to be great for you. If you want a jogging path or a walking path or a biking path, if you want to walk or bike or jog to certain things, it's definitely going to be more accessible in these neighborhoods. And again, I'm going to tell you, especially on the St. Pete side, lots of diversity in culture, lots of art, museums, and music, but also Seminole Heights. Like I said in my video for Seminole Heights, I really compare Seminole Heights to St. Pete in a lot of ways. It's just a little smaller and more contained. But as far as food, I think St. Pete and Seminole Heights really can test your palate with some amazing flavors. I really love it. When I'm thinking of places to go, that's where I think to go, St. Pete or Seminole Heights. Not to mention, if you're still someone that likes the nightlife, I'm too old for that. But more power to you. You know, those neighborhoods are very big on that. Also, when you're over in Channel District, you can walk to the Amalie Arena and you can sit outside and watch at Thunder Alley the Lightning play for maybe $10, I think, if you don't want to necessarily buy a ticket. So you can go to sporting events. It's just really a lot of walkability, and not to mention downtown Tampa, as well as Channel District, you have that Ybor trolley, and you've got all those little shuttle services down there that are really great. So the next group on my list are my beach people. Where are my beach people? That's me. So if you are someone that needs to be near water, near the energy of that beach kind of lifestyle, I've got a couple of neighborhoods I want you to consider. So for my beach people, there are a couple of neighborhoods I want to put on your radar. Dunedin, Safety Harbor. Where are they on the map? They are west of the airport. This road right here was Hillsborough that becomes Tampa Road and 580, and you can take it all the way to Dunedin. And I've talked about Dunedin before in a couple of videos. Maybe I'll put one up here. And lots of breweries, lots of walking around and biking. There's the Pinellas Bike Trail, and if you like to be outside and you want to have that cool breeze and you're just have a more casual, laid-back kind of lifestyle, I think Dunedin, and then over here Safety Harbor, they both have really quaint little downtowns with lots of fun things to do. And honestly, whenever there's a festival that I want to go to, it's usually like a seafood festival or a crab festival or something like that. It's usually in Dunedin or Safety Harbor. So if that's up your alley, put those on your list. We're going to go north for a second, and I'm going to talk about Tarpon Springs. Now, Tarpon Springs, as you'll see, it's quite a bit of ways from, the average neighborhoods of Tampa. But it's starting to become pretty popular with people because look at this. See this waterway right in here? There is a ton of waterfront property there, and it feeds out into the Gulf. And we have this little island over here called Anclote Key Preserve, where you can take a boat out there and go snorkeling or just have a day. So there's lots to do if you're a water person, if you like to boat, if you like to jet ski, paddleboard, fish. It's all happening in Tarpon Springs. And even right now, some of the housing prices in that area are still relatively reasonable, because if you're moving to Tampa, you really don't want to live 45 minutes away from Tampa, ideally. But if Tampa proper itself isn't that important to you, it's not that far. And they've got their own little downtown, and they're close to Newport Richie that has a cute little downtown. And again, lots of waterfront restaurants. And it's a fun day trip as well. They've got the Greek sponge docks there and lots of Greek heritage there. And again, like I mentioned, lots of nature. You've got parks, you've got beaches, you kind of got a little bit of everything. So check it out. And we're gonna head south to a very obvious area, which is Clearwater, Largo. Because everybody knows about Clearwater Beach, right? Well, Clearwater Beach, yes, it has beachfront property, but you can go inland in Clearwater and still be almost a bike ride away from the Clearwater Beach and have a really nice neighborhood or home. Now, we've been getting a little feedback. Some of our areas are not that pretty per se because, Tampa is an old town. And a lot of our houses were built from the 1900s up to the 80s, and it takes time for these homes to be renovated. But there's still some really good little pocket areas between Clearwater and Largo, again, for my beach people. So think about that. And lastly, I'm going to go back to St. Pete, because St. Pete Beach is also one of the top beaches in America. And for good reason. And I'm going to sneak in two other little neighborhoods because I think they're great. Gulfport, I'm going to get you my retirees. That's a good area for retirees. But South Pasadena Beach is just lovely. And it says it's South Pasadena Beach, but it's really like there's all these little canals and beautiful condos and waterfront views and boats everywhere. It's just stunning. And so what do these neighborhoods have to offer my beach people? Well, many beach options. You have beaches all along our coast there, from Tarpon all the way down to basically Venice, if you think about it. And there's seafood for days. So if you're a seafood lover or you like a good tiki bar. Also, if you really, really love the laid-back beach lifestyle, the flip-flop lifestyle, the hat lifestyle like I am today, This is usually my norm. And that's something I really love about Florida as well. I've lived in big cities where you had to dress up or it was a little bit more posh. And that's really not my style. I really like to be casual and laid back. And luckily in Florida, we don't have to worry about, style too much. You can, but you don't have to. Nobody looks down at you. And everybody's got a flip-flop tan. That's how you know if you're a real Floridian. Not to mention, I've talked a lot about the walking and the biking and the trails. We've got the Pinellas Trail that goes, I think it's from Clearwater all the way up to Tarpon. It's a good 45 miles that you could ride your bike, you could stroll the kids, and it winds in and out of some neighborhoods, so you can stop along the way. There's usually some breweries or some restaurants along the way. It's super cool, fun to do. And like I mentioned, if you want to be a beach bum or have that kind of laid back lifestyle, the beach life is really where it's at. That's my goal. I'm halfway there. I live on a canal that leads out to the bay, so close. And last but not least, my retirees. And so I'm going to clarify something because I'm close to this age group, the 55 and up group. I don't feel old. And a lot of us that are in that age group or heading towards that age group, there are some communities, especially in Florida, that are super cool, that have a lot to do, and they just don't have the riffraff of the kids running around. That's really the difference. This is not to be confused with assisted living. That's completely different. 55 and over communities can be resort type living. You don't have to worry about maintaining the exterior of your house, let's say the lawn and that sort of thing. There is a small fee and they will take care of everything, your trash, your lawn, all that stuff is included. And for people that are getting a little older that don't really want to push a lawnmower, that's a good thing. They also have things like pickleball and shuffleboard, as everybody knows, and pools and pool activities and even community events. So there's a ton to do in the 55 and over, and sometimes you can even get a golf cart. That's my goal. I want a golf cart. Okay, back to the map. So let's talk about Palm Harbor because I'm getting mixed reviews on Palm Harbor in a good way. Palm Harbor used to be a big retirement area because they do have wonderful 55 and over communities. But what the cool thing is there's now families moving in there. So it has a really nice blend, I think, of families and more mature adults. And yes, there is some assisted living facilities in the Palm Harbor area, but really 55 plus communities, they're really great. I've actually had to talk a couple of different clients out of some areas because I'm like, you're not 55, you can't go in that area. They're like, oh, but it looks really cool and fun. They are, it is. So Palm Harbor, put it on your list. East Lake, that I mentioned earlier as well. So Palm Harbor's right here, East Lake's right here, like I mentioned before. And again, great for families and great for retirees. East Lake has golf courses and plush greenery and all of those community features that people are looking for, especially when you're looking to like semi-retire. It's fun. Tarpon Springs has some 55 and over communities as well that are really cool. There's one called, I think, Tarpon Sail and Tennis. And again, these are resort type living communities. These are not your old folks home like we used to think. And then we're going to head down to Largo. Clearwater and Largo again have been retiree areas as well, but you're going to start seeing now again families and young professionals and people that just really want to be close to the water. It's really now a mixed bag, but there are some really great 55 and over communities in these areas as well. And then I want to kind of jump down to Gulfport. I mentioned it briefly. I've just been showing one of my clients this area and she's just fallen in love with it. Gulfport is a very small little community right here. There's obviously Pasadena Golf and Yacht Club right next to it. So they've got this little beach right here, and right along here is all these wonderful restaurants. They've got a main street. They do an arts festival day every Tuesday where they kind of shut down the main street from 12 to 2 every Tuesday. And they, you can buy little trinkets or whatever. It's really fun. I've had a couple of meals over there, really great. They've got a pier. It's all walkable. So a lot of people, and my client in particular, is looking at condos over here that face the water all along these little keys. You're just a hop skip. You can walk to the little town square, and they've got Veterans Park there. They've got so much. So Gulfport is probably right now my favorite 55 and over community, not gonna lie. But if we go further south, If we talk about the southeast part of town, that's when you really start to get into some more 55 and over communities. Historically, Sun City Center, as well as Apollo Beach, but both of those areas are starting to kind of get balanced out with families as well, because you do have those master plan communities and you have the walkability and the shopping, and it's really family friendly. So you have a little mixed bag there as well. So what do these neighborhoods for retirees have to offer? Well, they've got a mix of families and 55 and over people, right? So that's also a benefit. So it's not just for old people. I hate that word. There is probably nicer curb appeal in a lot of these communities because those communities are very well taken care of. Most of the time you're gonna have beach access or waterfront views, or being in those beachy communities, which is always great if that's your bag. Tons of activities, golfing, fishing, boating, any kind of water sport, and especially golf. Golf is huge, right? So you've got all of that in spades. So I hope that was a little bit helpful for you to kind of break down some of these neighborhoods based on some of the things that you might be interested in either doing or looking to accomplish with your family or just by yourself. So if you have any questions in regards to some of these neighborhoods, I'd love to hear from you. So don't forget, you can always comment below. And if you have some areas to share, or if you have any experiences in these communities, I'd love to hear it as well. And don't forget, we really appreciate it if you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. That really helps me out a lot. It helps push this content to people like yourself that are looking to get more information from people like me. And as always, if you're looking to relocate, I really would love to help you out, and reaching out to me is always going to be the best bet. Call me, text me, email me, or jump on my calendar and we'll get that conversation going. And I would really, really love to help you out on your journey. So until next time, everybody, I really appreciate you coming out and checking out this content, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.